Hello everyone, in today's DaVinci Resolve tutorial, I'm going to show you how to do the boomerang effect with a nice smooth transition. So, right here, I show you an example of what I have created. You can see here that it has kind of a boomerang effect, and it goes kind of into a slow motion and then bounces back, and it's repeatable up to infinity. This can be used for maybe social media promotions or very quick, reels, that sort of thing. It's a really handy tool to know how to use. And it's very, very simple to do. And the majority of it, to my understanding, is actually doable in the free version of DaVinci Resolve. So I have gone back to the original clip. I've pulled it onto my timeline, and this is just the original clip. And it actually, I still need to trim it just a little bit. I haven't color graded it, I haven't done anything. So first, let's trim it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come to this spot right here, where it kind of curves up, and then I'm going to have it stop right there. So it's all kind of one motion. Okay, all right. From there, I'm going to do a really quick color grade, nothing too fancy, just a small S curve, give it some contrast. There we go. I filmed it with my cheaper wide lens. It's a Rokinon. And so I'm going to adjust green tint because it was just a bit too green. Bring some more magenta in there. Oh, it looks pretty good. Adjust some of our colors here. Add some more saturation into the yellows. Make them a little more orange. And it's not looking too shabby already. And that's pretty much all I'm going to do to it. Just a very, very basic grade. Jump back into our edit tab here. And what I want to do is I want to remap it so that it goes very quickly from here to here. And then these last few frames, I want it to slow down as if it were slow motion. And I'll show you how I accomplish that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the clip, and normally what I would need to do is I need to pull up my keyframes or splines for my retime speed, but they're not showing up in the clip. So what you may have to do is come up here and just click this button right here. Maybe like the zoom, any number of these, you can just click on the keyframe icon on it. And then that gives you the option to go ahead and click on your splines. Now we're going to remove that keyframe, and then we're just going to readjust it. We're going to deselect position X and Y, and we're going to select retime speed because we just need to get this menu up. Sometimes the menu doesn't show up for whatever reason. It might be a bug, or maybe leave a comment down below. Tell me if I'm doing something wrong. If there's a way I can get that without having to just select a random keyframe up here in my transform and then reselect it once I get it open. But now that we have it open, I'm gonna move over to where I want it to transition into this slow motion part. I'm gonna hold Alt and then click. And that's going to create a keyframe wherever I click with my mouse. And I just put my playhead there for reference. Now what I'm going to do, now I can control this spline and this spline. They're straight right now, so they're just lines, but I can turn them into splines that kind of merge into each other. And I can control them independently now that I've created kind of a joint right here. I think it's a keyframe, but I like to think of them more as joints. So I've created a joint here, so now I can adjust this one independently of this one right here. So I'm going to increase the speed up to 300. Okay, and that's actually already looking pretty good. It wouldn't look perfect. It's not very smooth, so I'm going to fix that, but it's already actually looking okay, just without any work. The only issue is it doesn't end very slow. It ends in real-time motion, and I want it to end and have a few more frames in slow motion. So what I'm going to do is, now that I have this, I'm going to smooth out the transition from fast to slow. So I'm going to select my joint, and I'm going to make it so that it curves or creates a spline in between the two lines, and so it connects them together. And once I've done that, I am actually going to expand the clip a little bit because I need a few more frames at the end. And I'll probably need to trim it again, and I'll show you why here in a second. But expand it a little bit and then make that curve nice and smooth. So now you can see that it's a smooth transition. I'm actually going to get rid of a couple frames at the beginning too. So it starts out really fast, this, and then slows down, that. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this one over here on this side, and I'm going to reduce it down to about 10%. So I filmed this at 24 frames per second, so I believe that would be around 240 frames-ish per second. Again, leave a comment down below if I got my math right. And so that looks pretty good, other than the fact that now the slow motion is just frame by frame. So we obviously don't want that. We're going to fix that here in just a second. Before I fix that though, I'm going to go ahead and play it and then pause it where I want it to end and then go ahead and retrim it. Now that I've trimmed it, I'm pretty much done with my retime curve, so I can click that icon and put that away. Okay, so now I have the first half of it almost done. There's two more things I need to do though. Thing number one is I need to enable and basically select a retime process. So this is what's called frame estimation. And it's a great way to kind of quick and easy get some slow motion in your footage. It doesn't always look good. There are some situations where it creates kind of blurriness between frames, but that's just the nature of the beast when I've filmed in 24 frames per second and going down to super slow motion. If I had filmed this in 120 frames per second, then it would have more data to be able to create in between frames. Because right here, you can see here, once it starts slowing down, it needs frames in between these because it's just jumping back and forth from frame to frame. So I'm going to go ahead and go to my retime and scaling, and I'm going to go to optical flow right here. And then I'm going to do standard, faster, and then you can select scaling and resize filter. I always just do smoother and then leave that to project settings. Now what that's going to do for me is now that's going to do some frame estimation so that it smooths it out. And there are a couple of little artifacts. So you can see here like hard lines in the benches. They start to kind of double frame a little bit. But for our purposes today, that's okay. It's not gonna affect the image too much. So what I'm gonna do now that I have this is I'm gonna add a little bit of artificial motion blur. Now you don't have to do this. This isn't actually in the free version of DaVinci Resolve, but I'm gonna go ahead and do it. So I'm gonna select this right here. I'm gonna go to large and just max it out. And that's going to help with a couple things. That's going to help with making the motion look faster at the beginning, but it's also going to help with the frame by frame data in between here to just kind of blur it out a little bit and make it look not quite so funky. So now if I try to play this back, it's going to be a little bit jumpy and it's not going to look quite right. And the reason for that is because it's having to render this in real time, which is pretty difficult to do. So I'm going to go ahead and to be able to create the second half of the clip where it bounces back or has that boomerang effect, I'm going to go ahead and render my clip in place. So I just right click on it, click render in place, and I just went MP4, H.264, just kind of really basic settings, and go ahead and render it. And you choose a location. Normally you'd want to do the location of your project file and then, you know, create maybe a folder for like rendered clips or something like that. But for today, I'm just going to put it on my desktop just so that it's just super easy to do. Okay, now that's going to create a rendered clip that will play back perfectly. You can see that. And now we have the first half of our clip. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually stop it just a little earlier. So right there, I'm going to trim it, hold Alt, click and drag, and duplicate it. Now it goes like this. But the issue is that it's playing forward. So right click on this, go to clip, or excuse me, not clip attributes. Right click on this and go to, let me see if I can find it here. Change clip speed right here, kind of in the lower middle. And we're going to reverse the speed. Change it. That's the final step in creating this effect, and it has to be the final step because the rendered clips need to be identical, just reversed from one another, and that's what's going to create the in and out kind of boomerang effect. And then of course I can select these both, hold Alt, and then click and drag to copy them so that it repeats itself, and then I could render that out and post it on social media or what have you. So now if I full screen and push play, you can see that it's going in and out. And it's a great effect for kind of like a social media, or let's say, you know, you're advertising something, maybe a short real estate video going in and out of a house, you know, something like that. I think there are a lot of different use cases for this, and it really, it's a pretty simple effect to pull off. It just takes a little bit of knowledge and a little bit of know-how to be able to do it. So, thanks again for watching. I really appreciate your time. If you like this video, drop it a like, thumbs up, and give me a subscribe. I'd really, really appreciate it. And I will see you in the next one.